Joining us now, our Tuesday regular from the Province and Post Media, it's Mr. Patrick Johnston, back with Sekeres Press. How you doing?
Well, it's quite the turnaround. It's snowing. It wasn't snowing where I last was. There was snow on the ground in Denver, but there wasn't snow in Vegas or in San Jose. So, bit of a shock to the system.
You keep this up, they're going to want to take you on every road trip.
I know.
You're kidding.
Yeah. No. Well, I said there was a minor hockey team from Semiahmoo Minor Hockey in Vegas. They were in some tournament, and I guess got asked, can we come watch morning skate? And they got to go watch morning skate, and it was one of these ones you're like, why don't they do this all the time? Have kids in. The kids were pumped. They got excited every time someone came on the ice. Bruce stopped and had a 20 seconds with them, but I took a photo. It was lovely, and I asked him about it after the game on Saturday. I said, "Should you guys just do that every week or every day? Every day." He goes, "Yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be great." I mean, it was nice. Those kids I think were the real good luck charm there. But they played well, and it was for once it was a fun sequence. At least for once this season, it was a fun sequence of games to have to cover.
We want to get into what you saw on the road trip and what to watch for going forward. Very quickly, though, we did speak to Rachel Dory today for the show. That file is progressing. You are sort of a supporting character in the story because of her text to you that may have precipitated all of this.
I hope you don't fire me for talking to him here, Blake.
No, exactly. We don't have the same sort of trigger mechanisms here at Go Sports.
It's not a fireable offense?
No. What do you make of where this has gone all of a sudden?
Guys, I think just in the end, because I'm in it, I just shouldn't say anything. I think that's the decision we've made at work, and let it play out. It's Rachel's, in the end, it's Rachel's story to tell. It's the Canucks' story to tell. And I just should leave it to how it stands, how it is right now, and we'll see how things go.
And she tells the story. You're right. Okay. All right. Understood. We won't pressure you.
No, I understand what I have to ask, but it's just not a spot for me to say anything right now.
There's the old saying in newspapers, Patrick, you never want to be below the byline, right?
No, I will not disagree with that.
Let's go to the poll question then, because there was some news yesterday that, and kind of late too. Again, do they have the weirdest timing in terms of when they reveal news. But Vasily Podkolzin and Jack Rathbone are officially Abbotsford Canucks, which is, I think a lot of people are of the mind of, okay, I mean, fine, but what took you so long, A?
Yeah.
And I know the Abbotsford Canucks were out of town, but still, that could have happened even before they left town. And then B, how long are they going to be down there? And is there a meritocracy here that if they play well, they will return? Who comes back? That's the poll question.
Who comes first? Well, I think it's Podkolzin comes back first, simply just on sort of role and roster numbers. Last week was an interesting one, and it got sort of mentioned, and I asked Boudreau a little bit about it on Friday, just sort of saying, hey, it's not normal that you bring injured players on the road, and you brought everyone. They had Pullman there, they had Tanner Pearson, who's still a couple weeks away, 10 days away maybe, at the minimum. Jack Studnicka. They had all those guys there, and Travis Dermott, they had 4 injured guys on the road, on top of having, a full bench of scratches. It was old school. It felt like the early to mid 90s when teams would sometimes have 5 guys in the press box and things like that. But there was sort of a team building exercise. They had the day off in Vegas. They went and played some golf. Although somewhat hilariously, when I went up we had already asked the Russians because, I asked Curtis Lazar, I said, who was the worst? He said, oh my God, the Russians, I don't think they even know how to play. And then I, wandered over to JT because we saw him swinging. I think Thatcher Demko posted a photo and JT just starts to deny, I didn't play golf. No, nothing. We didn't do anything. Nothing happened, which is fine. He was just having some fun. But no, they had a team day, a team night. They went out for a dinner, a very fancy dinner, and the rookie dinner, and there was an element of team building there. So why Rathbone wasn't down before? I mean, Boudreau had kind of, I think, I'm trying to even remember when I wrote, the man alone thing. Was that only 10 days ago? I don't even know.
Feels like it. I think it was. Yeah, 10 to 12. Yeah, something like that.
But because we had asked him, it wasn't up to him. He was sort of trying to say, listen, I don't know why Jack Rathbone's here, but in the end, he's in the mix. That's a frustrated hockey player. You can totally understand it. You can see him. He's a guy that tends to come up to the press box to watch. Not all players watch. Every team has seats assigned to them in whatever press service or media spaces, press box, if you will, that every league team has. And some teams, most arenas have pretty big press boxes. The Canucks have a small one. Denver has a small one. San Jose has, it's barely even a press box. But, there are always seats assigned, and Jack Rathbone will come up and watch. And, at one point I've asked him at, some skate, I said, why do you always come up there? We're not used to seeing players up there. And he goes, well, I actually like watching it from above. I watch enough games on TV. He would like to be out on the ice. And so, you can just see in his face, it's a frustrated player. He certainly wants to be an NHL player. But, there's just no, they added Riley Stillman. That already put him ahead of the line. Travis Dermott maybe is back soon. We'll see. That starts pushing him down the list to like 9, that Dermott comes back. He's all of a sudden 9th on the list. So that's kind of where Rathbone is. Podkolzin, it's a guy that, he should be in the lineup, but lacks confidence, hasn't scored. And they're winning right now. So, this is a chance to go play some games, rediscover what he does well. And, I guess we'll see where things go. And,
it is very, very, very early. Sorry, Patrick. He is a young player and he has a lot of years ahead of him. But, given the lack of production this year, are we at all getting concerned that Vasily Podkolzin may not be a top 6 NHL forward, that he may not have the offense to float a top 6 role anytime soon here?
I guess, but I look at
My answer is no, emphatically.
Yeah. I look at sort of the alternatives right now. He's not going to squeeze in on. Maybe he could fit in for Niels Höglander. The thing with Niels Höglander on that line with Miller and Horvat, Höglander is also struggling to finish, and has made defensive gaffes, but he is pretty much the team's best forechecker, and he brings an element to that line that makes things different. And I think that more than anything is what Podkolzin needs to figure out. He's not as sort of as quick a player. He's such a smart player that he would be a good addition on that line. But he hasn't looked like he's had any confidence no matter where he's played. And I think he's just a guy that he is a guy that needs a reset. That was something that's been talked about with Kuzmenko. Like, he had that healthy scratch and he's just been on a tear ever since. He sort of has had a sense to think and see and sort of ponder what he needed to ponder. And Podkolzin's watched a lot and he needs a chance to play and execute. And, as things stand, there wasn't a spot for him in the lineup, which, is an indictment about his spot on the hierarchy. There's no doubt about that, but I'm not ready to write him off yet. I think there's still a lot. There's so much talent. There's so much smarts. There's so much
smarts. That's the thing.
There's so much hard work. Like, this isn't a guy that, and the work, like, this isn't a guy that he's already given up. This is a guy that is trying to figure it out. He's literally always the first guy on the ice. He comes out early. He's working on stuff. Now, is he working too hard? Is he working inefficiently? I don't know, but in the end, he's a guy that needs to play games. And if he's not going to play games, and you got Studnicka coming back, we know that Boudreau likes Sheldon Dries. Pearson is maybe soon. No, I'm not saying necessarily there's an argument for Pearson over Podkolzin, but the one guy can go to the minors with no issues and the other guy can't. So, I think the book is definitely still wide open on Vasily Podkolzin.
Well, and the other thing is like, you can look at the fourth line and all that, but I also think it behooves us to look at Niels Höglander, who's playing left wing on the top line there, right? With Horvat, top line, second line with Horvat,
that line,
and JT Miller. Well, some might consider it the top line, but or at one time it might have been.
But I ask you this about Höglander. Höglander's doing fine there.
He's doing fine,
but there's no bottom line there.
No, exactly. I was just going to say, it's not like he's filling nets, or it's not like he's creating.
He's got 4
goals.
points.
He's got 4 and 17. So is that the easiest route back to the NHL?
I think that is
for
in the end.
Podkolzin.
That, like I said, there is Höglander. There's an element to Höglander's game that is unique. But if you're not going to finish, and you have a guy that probably is a better offensive talent, and is a similar player in Podkolzin, I would say, a better. I think in the end he's a better all around player. But like I said, there's that specific thing that is getting Höglander in the lineup right now. But in the end, I think that's most likely the obvious spot going forward.
Let me ask you this: coming off the road trip, they're getting wins better, but are the skaters playing better? Because I see save percentages that are the highest of the season for both Martin and Demko. Are the Canucks actually playing better?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think there isn't, there just isn't as much of the cross ice issues that we were seeing. Like, you think about some of those games, especially early in the season, when it was just a free for all in cross ice passes, and we're just not seeing that as much as anymore. There were a couple rushes on the weekend, say in San Jose, where they were a tired team and there were turnovers and San Jose attacked hard. But they, that there was a Kyle Burrows 2-on-1 that he defended really well. There was, Quinn Hughes had one. They're just not getting as exposed in that regard. There's still obviously a lot of the story here is because their offense has been red hot, right? It's not always going to stay red hot. But their goaltenders are having a chance. I wrote a story about Thatcher Demko on Thursday or Friday that was basically, this guy's still the number one goalie. Yes, Spencer Martin's playing great and getting starts, and that's good for the Canucks, but nobody's writing Demko off. What he really needed was just to get a more stable environment, and that's what Mike McKenna and that's what Kevin Woodley both told me, was that in the end, we can see how bad the defense has been, and it needs to improve to give these goalies a chance. And both of them, I think Martin obviously has individually played better than Demko, and Demko acknowledged that on Sunday night. But the environment, the defensive environment is improving. It's still obviously, it's not like it's league leading, and it still needs work, but they are doing better. The penalty kill has improved to a degree. They're pointed in the right direction, but whether they keep it going continues to be the question.
You mentioned Dries. 8-2-1 with him.
Yeah.
1-8-2 without him. Correlation or causation? Discuss. He's just Linus's blanket at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good guy, good character, good guy who's worked hard in his career.
Yeah, he has. We were actually extolling his virtues, legitimately last week, saying he's actually adding something. So we're chiding him, but
yeah, I mean, he's playing with Brock Besser. Neither of them. I mean, I will say this: defensively, they have not been a good story. But they're playing sort of third, fourth line minutes. They're being asked to contribute offensively in soft minutes. And Sheldon Dries has 5 points in 11 games. And if that's what you're asking a guy that's going to play 12, 13 minutes a night, that's pretty solid. But, in the end, he is a guy that's spent his career as a tweener, and a guy that you can call up. You're going to get, a reasonable half season worth of games. You're going to get a few goals. He can finish here and there. He can, if he gets a bounce, great. He got that goal in Colorado. Finished it. Wasn't exactly some great, but right spot, right time. But there's been a lot of chances where he has been right spot, right time, and he hasn't been able to finish. But yeah, he's a good story, and he's, I asked Bruce Boudreau about him, and I basically said, is this a guy that reminds you of yourself, a little minor league scorer who works hard, and Bruce said, yeah. And, Bruce basically said, no one ever gave me a chance. And I think there's an element here of, let's give this guy a go and see what he can do. But, as Jack Studnicka comes back, I think it's almost certain he'll come in for Sheldon Dries. It's hard to, maybe Connor Garland gets scratched again, but I think Studnicka is a guy that they liked. He was starting to show some stuff, and I have a hard time imagining him not getting back in the lineup, and I have a hard time with Sheldon Dries staying as much as as useful as he's been.
Do you have any problem with Spencer Martin getting another start? Or do you think the meritocracy is a good thing at this point, given that they are winning some hockey games? Both are winning hockey games.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us were of the mind, okay, now that you're seeing signs of Thatcher Demko, see if you can, water that plant a little bit more. But, I don't blame Boudreau for just saying, listen, this guy just is consistently getting me the wins. I'm going to continue to lean on Spencer Martin.
Yeah, I mean, there's... I had, for that story, I talked to Boudreau a bit about it. I said, listen, is there a temptation here, to ride the hot hand? And he goes, well, I want to have two hot hands. So I'm not surprised. Martin, maybe it's just, they're just going to go back and forth for a while.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's a lot of it. I mean, the reality is that the modern NHL rotation is not one guy getting 60 starts anymore. You want to have one guy getting 50 starts and one guy getting 30 starts. And, if you're going to give Spencer Martin 30 starts, you're going to have games like this where he's just going to play. And you're going to have a run where it's going to be back and forth. It's a nice dilemma for them to have. In the end, I think that's the story. It's no controversy. It's not, one guy should be one guy should be two. The Canucks, if Thatcher Demko truly has found his game, we're going to say that they're exactly this is exactly what they've been planning for. So I wouldn't read more into it other than they're happy they've got two goalies who are playing well.
Marvelous stuff, my friend. Thank you for the time and for your candor. And we will. If your superiors have a strategy on how to deal with this, then your superiors have a strategy on how to deal with this, and that's. We all have bosses, right? I answer to Blake Price. I don't know about you.
Matt, zip it.
Yeah, no, it's by the way, I'm just seeing the lines here now. I see no Mikheyev and no, Stupnika's in, so there you go. But yeah, in the end, this as you asked me, you said, no, you never want to be in. I'll say this much: you never want to be in the story. But
such is life.
Although you're peripherally, peripherally in the story. Obviously, anyone who knows this is a story about.
You're Alfred Hitchcock in Rear Window.
Exactly.
You're barely there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's quite the. Wow. I'd rather be Alfred. Let's just say I'd rather be Alfred Hitchcock just getting on the bus.
You're at least best supporting, if not a leading man.
Is it North by Northwest that he gets on the bus at the beginning of the movie? I think that's
you're out film schooling me.
Oh wow,
I only took one course.
We got a couple of E's and O's for tomorrow on old films. Okay,
North by Northwest, guys, come on,
bus.
All right, take care, boss.
Thank you, Patrick.